Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about in these tutorials is the tempo menu. So you push start, and then you push down the D-pad, and you can select tempo. So this brings up a number of different options of setting BPM, tap tempo, swing steps, and sequence. So I'll talk about each of these now. So BPM sets the speed of the sequencer. So this has the same basic controls as setting the BPM from the transport. Both the analog and digital pad can be used for setting the BPM rate. Pushing up and down on the analog and digital pad can change the speed at which the sequencer is playing. This can go from 1 BPM to 999 BPM. And this is set assuming that a quarter note happens every 8 steps. So that means that if you set the BPM to 120, then it'll take 4 seconds to play through an entire loop because there are 2 measures in a loop and each quarter note is a half second. So after you set the BPM you want, you can push X to exit the menu. So now going back again to tempo, the next option is tap tempo. Now unfortunately I can't demonstrate this on the PC because it doesn't work on the PC, it only works on the PSP version of PSPSeq. But the idea of tap tempo is that you select this and then you push X 8 times at the BPM that you want PSP to run at, and PSPSeq will do its best to match that tempo. After pushing X 8 times, you exit the tap tempo option and the sequencer just starts playing at that rate. So the next option is swing. So I'll select swing, and swing controls the amount of swing in the step sequencer. So this is a relative measure of the BPM for the first n steps versus the next n steps, where n is set by the swing steps parameter. Typically you would set this value to 50, and that means that each step, or each grouping of steps plays for an equivalent period of time. Another common value to set swing to is 66.6, and what this results in is sort of a shuffle step. And if you listen to a lot of techno music being made these days on things like compact records, then you might be familiar with how that sounds. If you want to reset swing to 50, you would push the you can push the square button, and to adjust it, you push either the analog or the digital pad up or down, or to change the swing value. So I'll very quickly set it to 66.6. Push X to select that, and if I go back to a loop where there's music playing, you can hear how it's kind of the beat is kind of shuffling. So I'm going to go back and set it to 50. So go to tempo, go to swing, and push square, so now it's at 50. And now you can hear how the sequence is playing back where every step is equivalent in time. Okay. So the next option is swing steps. So if I push start, select tempo, and select swing steps, then this indicates how many steps you want the tempo to be slowed down, and then how many steps you want it to be sped up. So the overall BPM remains the same when you're setting swing. And normally you would set swing steps to the number of steps in an 8th note in the loop. So in this case, I had it set up so that way a quarter note happened every 8 notes, so swing step 4 is appropriate. However, you can set this value to anything between 1 and 63. You can use either the analog or the digital pad for setting the swing steps value. And then to select it, to lock in that value, press the X button, and then you return to the sequencer. And then the last option under tempo is seqlen. So if I select seqlen, this sets the number of steps in the current sequence. So again, you can use the analog or digital pad for changing this value. I'm going to bring it down to, we'll just say 48. Oops, 48. So go back to tempo, seqlen, set it to 48, push X. And now you can see that the first 48 steps remain their normal color, but the last 16 steps are grayed out. And if you look at the blue dot at the top of the screen, it never plays all the way across the sequence. So now if I go back to the loop, you can hear how it's now playing it in 3/4 time as opposed to 4/4 time. That's about everything I have to say on tempo. I'm just going to reset tempo back to this seq line back to 64. Push X. Now we're back to 64. The next option is the track menu, which is used for copying and controlling data in a track within a single loop.